Left-wing entertainment's full-court press to use children's programming to indoctrinate kids is not really registering with the ratings. Doesn't seem to be working. Who knew kids had better taste than the networks? I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Howdy, Duty. Remember when that was a kid's show? And welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting hidden classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Lindell and our good friends at MyPillow. Let me ask you a question. How are those bath towels treating you? How's that working out for you, Dr. Phil? Well, MyPillow is offering a special deal right now. You can get rid of those old, worn-out, stiff towels, shrunk towels, and get soft, plush, 6-piece towel sets for only $40. $40 you'll get a Mike Lindell MyPillow towel set. Simply use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Again, use the code Dr. Duke, DRDUKE. Help support a great American company and one hell of a good podcast. All right, today we start with once popular kids' work, Nickelodeon. I remember when it was Nick at Night, and now it's Nickelodeon. And so with the change, we've got what? Think about an X-rated version of the Mickey Mouse Club. How about that? How about it? That's what you're getting now. Nickelodeon, their latest push to completely sexualize all programming for little kids, and no one's watching. Not even gay kids apparently are watching this nonsense.
Well, I never was watching this because I didn't have cable TV growing up. I was one of those deprived children. Not privileged, and like you all think I was.
And that's what stunted your growth, not having cable TV.
That's why I am as vertically challenged as I am. Because I did not have Nickelodeon. And at nighttime, I did not watch Nick at Night. But Nickelodeon, which is owned by Viacom CBS, they've attempted to put all these shows out in front of the children with adult sexuality and the content. I mean, they're trying to get into the minds and manipulate what these kids are thinking.
But it's so bad.
It's very bad.
It's just cheesy and stupid.
Well, it's beyond cheesy and stupid. It's downright awful. And so they've, brought homosexuality into Blue's Clues. If you've seen Blue's Clues, the guy, the dog, it's blue, he's blue. Transsexuals and bisexuals have been in SpongeBob SquarePants, The Adventures of Cora, and Henry Danger. And it's basically, you don't know if you're watching a kid's show or you're supposed to be watching basically like adult soft porn.
Remember the days that Hannah Montana was our biggest problem?
No, because again, I did not watch any of that. I do remember Billy Ray Cyrus.
Well, then. Look at the role model for common sense that Miley Cyrus has become.
Well, anyways, we do have some positivity in that people are not watching it. The ratings have plummeted even more. At least in July of 2017, they were averaging about 1.2 million viewers per week. Now go to February of this year, and they have just over 400,000. And it's dropping still. It's been down to 328,000 as of recently. Now, my still big issue is that we're having almost 400,000 viewers tuned into this.
You know what's scary about this is this is like CNN. The more they lie about the news, the more the ratings go down, the more they double down. This is like the Golden Globes and the Oscars. The more they make it political, the fewer people watch, and the more they double down. Same thing with Nickelodeon. They could lose every one of their viewers. Nobody could be watching them. And the brain trust at Nickelodeon says, we need more queer. We need more queer in our programming.
And so they've been attempting to it. I can't imagine why people aren't tuning in
when you see
to this.
Doesn't it just fill you with pride, showing who you are on the inside? Wave that pride flag up high, be true to you. Show your pride, wave those flags, everybody. Here we go. Red light, orange, healing, yellow is sunlight, green, nature, blue, harmony, purple is spirit, baby blue, pink, white represent transgender people, and black and brown represent the queer and trans people of color. We're all in this together.
Yeah, we're all in this together unless you're straight, right? That makes sense. And the other thing about it is so they're not even trying, right? We've got on the cover of Sports Illustrated a man who looks a lot like a woman, even though he's a man. Where'd this guy come from? It's like they got Curly from the Three Stooges to put a bad wig on and sing. The whole thing is just so creepy. And but at least we have one positive thing. At least we found a flag that liberals are willing to salute.
I guess that is a positive. But I just am hoping that the more we highlight and bring to attention the crap that they're trying to put on television, the more people cut the cord and get off of that. But obviously we know if they're not watching Nickelodeon, they are still tuning into the Hulus and the Netflix and all, Amazon Prime, all of those, which have their own programming that is a whole lot more of this crap sandwich. And that's why I spent my days watching the Mr. Rogers.
And of course, Sesame Street. Did you watch Sesame Street as a kid?
Back in my day, Sesame Street, Bert and Ernie were just friends and roommates.
That's right.
And that's all they, when they took a bubble bath, I didn't care.
That's right.
Because it was fine.
Big Bird was not the least bit concerned about his gender preferences.
And Elmo was still crazy Elmo. Cookie Monster was still eating cookies, not gluten-free,
Oscar the Grouch was not involved in a clandestine gay relationship with Count Dracula.
I actually enjoyed one. I did enjoy Oscar the Grouch as Oscar the Grouch, and now being an adult, I appreciate him ever more.
He's got that great the attitude we got to have when you're confronting the modern world and these realities. They're pathetic.
Well, I guess if they're not tuning into the Nickelodeon, it's because they are part of the people who believe that if you change your gender, it is morally wrong. Whoa! I'll say it again. Americans, 51%, which is more than half, actually say that changing your gender is morally wrong. What? That's not what the media tells me. That's not what celebrities tell me. That's not what basically all the politicians on the left tell me. So how can that be?
Well, the sad reality is that this is like the gay marriage question, right? Remember, for the last 10 years, Republicans tried to hold out on that. Now it's something like, 80% of Republicans are all for gay marriage. Give it 5 years, and that will be the exact number now. The 51 will be 81.
There is Oscar the Grouch.
It's inevitable.
Person,
Explain
right
to me how it's not going to happen. What forces do we have in the country today that will stand athwart of this? Where is this in 5 years? My contention is that 51% say it's wrong. I'll bet you in 5 years, and hopefully we'll be on the show, we'll be on the air in 5 years. I'll bet you anything you want to bet that's up about 75, 80%.
Let's talk about this specific poll. It's a Gallup poll, and of course now it will be deemed bigoted because the trans community will deem it to be bigoted. But the survey question that was asked said, regardless of whether or not you think it should be legal, for each one, please tell me whether you personally believe that in general it is morally acceptable or morally wrong. And so they did this for a ton of different categories, but under changing one's gender, 51% said it was morally wrong, 46% said it was morally acceptable. Interesting how that one worked. And when you talk about age brackets, because of course they always break it down, 55% of those ages 18 to 29 say it's morally acceptable, with 51% of 30 to 39 saying it's okay. So obviously, as we know, the older you are, the more conservative you are, the more religious you are, all of those percentages go higher up, saying it's morally unacceptable. And so the younger you are, the less religious, the more you've probably been in college.
And so what does that tell you is going to happen in 5 years?
That all of the boomers did not teach us up right.
And the question, this is not surprising. This is utterly predictable. We've got entertainment, journalism, education, all sold out to these ideas. This is the future, right? Get over it. The 51% now who are considered bigots, that, like I said, in 5 years that'll be 20%. So the bigger question that I have is this: how do you define morality? I mean, that's the really interesting thing behind this poll. How do you define it? Because I guarantee you that the young kids, the baby boomers, have a radically different sense of what is moral than from children. Where in this culture are children learning morality? It's not from the social media. It's not from what they watch on TV. It's not from their schools. It's not from their the movies that they watch. Where are they getting it from? And where do we have anything like a discussion of morality, even in the best schools? It's not about morality. The words that we use, things like inclusivity, that is morality to the left. Everything is okay, except traditional worldviews that don't say everything is okay, right? That's it. Morality for the 40 and under crowd is nothing more than everything has to be approved all the time. And that allows you to hate the boomers who aren't quite on board yet. This is morality. There's no other conversation. There's no other way of looking at things. You either accept everything the left gives you, or you're a bigot. And then when they label you a bigot for having actual morality, they can cancel you.
And we see that in the results of this poll of what the people on the left find to be morally acceptable. And since everyone on the left likes to claim themselves a minority, be assured that if you are into anything traditional of this country, you are in the minority. Because here we find that the left thinks it's morally acceptable. At least 73% think abortion is morally acceptable. 91% think gay or lesbian relations is morally acceptable. Medical research using human embryonic stem cells, 80% say, yep, that's okay. 74% think it's okay for doctor-assisted suicide. Teenagers having sex, 62% say, sure, why not? 84%, if you have a baby outside of marriage, yeah, no problem. 58% say, hey, let's watch some porn.
Stop there. So on the left, 58% so 42% of lefties aren't on the pornography train, right? That's a staggering number. Only 58% of liberals support the idea of pornography. That means 15% more of them are willing to kill babies than they are to watch dirty videos. That tells you something about what I would call the moral center of the progressive left. So look, abortion, 73% on the left. So the first thing you got to ask yourself is, that's not the impression you would get from the mainstream media, right? There's still 27% of people on the left who do not support it. Medical research using human embryonic stem cells, which very often comes from the process of abortion, 80%. So there are 7% of people who don't want to see, on the left, abortion, who do want to see the product of abortions being used to apparently to cure diseases. And then you've got pornography at 58%. It is really an interesting thing when you look at this, but this is indicative of where we will be, as I've said, in about 5 years.
All right, well, let's end today on a doozy of a story. The Tolkien Society, Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien Society, recently held its summer seminar entitled Tolkien and Diversity. Now, calm down over there, Dr. Duke. Calm down. You'll get to talk in a moment. Representation is now more important than ever, and Tolkien's efforts to represent or ignore particular characteristics requires further examination. Additionally, how a character's identity shapes and influences its place within Tolkien's secondary world still requires greater attention. This seminar aims to explore the many possible applications of diversity within Tolkien's works, his adaptations, and his readership. That's what they said about this seminar, Tolkien Society.
That's the kind of academic BS that kids are dealing with in college campuses all the time. This is how they frame it, right? Representation is important now than ever before. What a stupid thing to say. Are you telling me that we've never before cared about representation, what people represent? No, you just want to expand representation in ways that are oftentimes degrading and, for lack of a better word, vulgar. But here's the thing. Notice what happened. What happened about a year ago? Not even a year ago. Christopher Tolkien died. Christopher Tolkien is, of course, the son of J.R.R. Tolkien. He lived a nice long life into his 90s. He was the heir and the overseer of the Tolkien Trust. And it's really interesting. While Tolkien was alive and looking over his father's empire, you didn't get this stuff. People were very hesitant to do it. Tolkien did not want to grant, Chris did not want to grant any permission to Peter Jackson to make those movies. He didn't like the movies. He's got a lot of legitimate complaints about the movies. As much as I like the movies, they leave a lot to be desired vis-a-vis actually reading the book. Within a year of Tolkien's death, guess what happens? The Tolkien Society, an academic circle group that the job it is to, this is kind of, think about college professor fanboys for Tolkien. They've decided now, the Tolkien Society, that now that Chris is dead, let's queer up the Lord of the Rings. Let's queer it right up.
So the society was founded back in 1969 over there in the England, and it was an educational charity, literary society, and international fan club. Fanboys, as you say. And it was devoted to promoting the life and works of J.R.R. Tolkien. But this year, just as they had to last year, they went online with their seminar. And when you go online with seminars, it makes it so everyone can see what's going on. But they were very clear as to why they needed diversity this year. They sought papers saying representation in Tolkien's works, race, gender, sexuality, disability, class, religion, age, etc. That's what they were seeking. Tolkien's approach to colonialism and post-colonialism. They wanted adaptations of Tolkien's works, or diversity and representation in Tolkien academia and readership, or identity within Tolkien's works. All of this was fair game, and they requested these types of papers.
Now think
and
about
they
this.
got them.
Tolkien created an entire new world, populated with creatures completely different from our world, and yet he's not diverse enough.
Yes. Anyway, we don't care what you say. We only care what these people wrote their papers about. So I'm just going to give you a couple titles.
Some of
just
these
a couple.
academic titles for these stupid papers.
Cordelia Logsdon wrote a paper called Gondor in Transition, a brief introduction to transgender realities in The Lord of the Rings. Claire Moore wrote The Problem of Pain, portraying physical disability in the fantasy of J.R.R. Tolkien. Because we need to get ableism in there.
The irony is that so-called scholars like this are actually the colonists. They cannot stand to allow a man like Tolkien to have created a worldview. And no one in the history of writing created a worldview that was as deep and as substantive as this is. You've got a foundational gods and goddesses. You've got the thousands of years of history. You've got all of these creatures and different kinds of beings interacting together. So you have the most diverse, well thought out, complete world any writer has ever handed anybody. And that's not enough for the left. So what do these women do primarily? They have to colonize Tolkien's world. They have to project their non-Middle Earth, 21st century, narrow, naggy academic mindset. They have to project that on Tolkien because there will be no books allowed that don't get queered or transed or any other stupid label. And so the real colonials here are the progressive left professors. They will not let the book stand. They will not let anybody read a book and let its world have its say. They will force their world on it. And so they're nasty, female in this case, childish, juvenile colonialists who really should be treated the way the left wants to treat colonialism. Let's run them out of town, tar and feather them.
Here's a little heads up, a little way to know if what you're about to read is a load of BS. The longer the title, the more detailed and more colons within that title, the more likely it is to be a load of just nonsense.
Appropriating the colon, comma, gay sex and the Lord of the Rings, comma, colon.
It's still not long enough. But we did have a kind of a little jab at the Tolkien Society by another group formed called the Society of Tolkien. So the Tolkien Society, well, here's the Society of Tolkien, who formed. They announced a free alternative seminar on the very same day that this other one ran because they just wanted to stick it to them. I don't know if there's a Hobbiton term or special term you would use to say stick it to them.
Sticking it to the hobbits. It sounds like you're in the wrong one.
Maybe I am. Now, the Society of Tolkien had their seminar, and here are some of the titles for their papers. Mapping Middle Earth. That's the whole title.
Do you have the names of the scholars?
Okay. No, they did not include
I bet you
those.
they'd be mostly men, but go ahead. Mapping Middle Earth. Geography. What a concept. Rather than projecting my 21st century trans ambiguity onto Tolkien, I'm going to look at the geography of his world. Now that seems to be like a logical thing to do. It's time for some serious education here in the Dr. Duke Show. This is Mobocracy Week. Mobocracy is a tip of the hat to P. Jake Jacobs, a friend of ours and a great conservative thinker who wrote a book called Mobocracy, whose entire premise is America is becoming not so much an idiocracy as a mobocracy. When all the idiocracy people, when all the idiots in America got together into a mob, they became, Antifa. So all week long, we've been warning you about the dangers of mobs and how detrimental mobs are to civil discourse, to civilization itself. They are about anarchy. They are about unmaking civilization. And so let's go back to some of our great quotes about mobs and how we must keep in mind the dangers of the mob. Hannah Arendt, who was one of the great students of the evil of the Nazi regime, made the following observation, quote, "Only the mob and the elite can be attracted by the momentum of totalitarianism itself." Look, listen to that. The masses have to be won by propaganda. What a beautiful statement. The idiotic mob and the progressive elites with their heads right up the progressive backsides, they're all for it. The middle classes, the sane, sober middle classes, who more often than not send their kids to college for an education when those kids are getting an indoctrination, it's the middle class that has to be propagandized. How about Abraham Lincoln? There is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. There's not a single legitimate grievance or complaint that can be actually fixed or helped by mob action. And how about Charles Caleb Colton? Quote, "The mob is a monster with the hands of Briareus, but the head of Polyphemus. Strong to execute, but blind to perceive." And if you remember your Greek mythology, Briareus was a 100-armed monster that had hands and all sorts of things. The mob is that kind of a monster, an ignorant monster, but it has hands everywhere. But the brain, the head, is the head of Polyphemus. You may remember from your reading of the Odyssey that Polyphemus is one of the Cyclopses, the one-eyed brute creatures who gets blinded by Odysseus. In other words, mobs have 100,000 hands in people's faces, but they have the vision of a blind man. And then let's go back to Seneca, the great Roman playwright and philosopher, quote, "The mob are more restless than the waves of the sea, more unpredictable, more fickle, more changing, more shallow, more destructive." That's your mob.
Yay. All right. Well, those are the stories for today. If you have a question for us, please feel free to drop it in the mailbag by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org. And if you enjoy our content, please consider joining our Patriot Club. Your one-time $99 tax-deductible donation allows us to keep bringing you the crazy stories every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And of course, as a little thank you, we will ship you our signature tumbler.
And that's going to do it for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.